Let's go, Paul. Last push.
So I'm racing the Cadbury Half Marathon tomorrow. It's a local race down here in Tasmania, out in a suburb called Claremont. It's not a fast course, and there's not likely to be a lot of depth at the front. It's not like these interstate races where you go and run in a pack of, say, 20 guys that then drag you along to a really fast time. The chances are I'm probably going to be running most of this race by myself, but that's okay. Just looking at the results from last year, there's every chance I could potentially finish on the podium, so it should be a bit of fun. It looks like we're going to get really good conditions. It's probably going to be the coldest morning for months. It's going to be about 9 degrees when the race starts, and probably will only get up to about 11 or 12 by the finish. A little bit of wind. That course is always fairly exposed, but it looks like maybe we'll have a bit of a crosswind on the way back and maybe even a little bit of tailwind towards the end. So all in all, yeah, conditions looking really good. I'm interested to see how the marathon goes as well. There's quite a few guys that I know doing the marathon. Yeah, and I'm not sure about anyone coming from interstate. So it could be like a local guy that I know that wins the marathon, which would be really good to see. As far as the half marathon goes as well, I mean, it could well be that someone from interstate rocks up and takes the cash there. But in terms of all the people that I know locally who would be faster than me, I don't think any of them are actually doing half. So yeah, I won't know until I actually get on the start line and take a look around. In terms of what I'm racing in, I'm going to go with these, the Darwin PB Pro. It's a hyper shoe, so it weighs 145 grams, around that. I've tried them in a few training sessions and they feel really, really fast. The only issue is, actually there's a couple of issues. Rocks get stuck in the bottoms of them, and also lace bite. So what I've actually done, because it was really, really bad in the left shoe, I have put a felt bit on top just to cover where the laces go, just to give a little bit more protection. It wasn't so bad on the right foot, but the left foot, I've really felt it. Alright, so we're on the race course now. It comes along here. This is probably going to be one of the toughest spots because it's this long, gradual, fairly exposed part of the course on the way back. Just gradually goes up. It's a bit of a false flat along here. So we're up at 3:45 this morning. It's now 5:26 a.m. Still tired. And yeah, it should be good though. The conditions, it was pretty cold when we stepped out the door this morning, so got really lucky. Middle of summer, and it's pretty much winter conditions. I guess that's what happens some of the time when you have a race that starts at 6:45 a.m. The marathon's going off at 6 a.m. So we'll catch the start of that. Yeah, looking forward to the race.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are in the Cadbury Marathon for 2026.
We're on. One of those blokes looks cooked already, so you'll be alright. Hold on. Going well. They look like they're pushing too hard. Both of them. So, just finishing up my warm-up. As usual, feel terrible morning of a race, but I'm sure once I get going I'll be alright. See you soon.
Let's go, Paul.
So that went well. Yeah, 1:14:55. Fairly happy with that. I think in terms of performance, I personally would rate it myself as like a B+. An A would have been to sneak a PB, and maybe an A+ would have been to run under 1:14. But that course it's tough. I'd say it's maybe 90 seconds to 2 minutes slower than a course like Ballarat or the Gold Coast. But we did have really, really good conditions. There was a little bit of wind, but the temperature was perfect. But I guess I'll give a bit of a race breakdown. In the days leading into the race, I started to kind of entertain the possibility of, maybe I could win this race. Just based on the fact that none of the fast local guys that I know were doing the race. I mean, there's always the possibility that interstate runners will come down, but I thought maybe this year it's not really worth their while. I mean, prize money for first is $800, and by the time you factor in flights and accommodation, you've probably eaten all of that up. So I thought, yeah, maybe there's a chance that I could at the very least podium and pick up some prize money, but you never know. People can always, maybe they're down on holidays, maybe they see a local race and they think, yeah, I'll jump into that and pick up a win. But yeah, I was entertaining that idea, and on the start line, I was kind of scoping the competition, and one guy really did stand out. He was a young guy, looked pretty fast, he was in a full Brooks kit, so I knew he must be relatively fast if he's rocking the elite singlet. But I was hoping that maybe he'd just bought it off eBay or something. But it turns out that no, that wasn't the case. He was very fast. So the gun went, and I mean, it was a fairly fast start. So there were a few local guys that rocketed off the start and were ahead of me, but I knew they were going to slow. So my eye was on the guy in the Brooks kit. He didn't go off too quickly at first. I think he was just scoping everyone as well. There was another guy in a tank top and a backwards hat that went to the early lead. Another guy in kind of light blue kit, and he kind of pushed just ahead of me, and I thought, okay, this is good. I'm going to tuck in behind him. This is the race for third. At least I'll get on the podium here, and hopefully one of the other guys will slow down, and maybe I can even sneak second. But it felt a little bit fast, and then I came through the first kilometre, and it was 3:17, and yeah, I thought, yeah, I've screwed it here. That's way too fast. That's significantly above my threshold. I'm going to pay for that. So I eased off the pace, settled back into about 3:30 a kilometre pace, and then from behind me I thought it was a bike at first. I thought, why is there a bike on the course? Is that the lead woman or something that's coming past? And so I gave a bit of room, and then I took another look behind, and it was a guy with a pram, and this was a little bit demoralising. I thought, I hope he's just gone off a bit too hard and drops, but no, he was pushing on. He went past me, and I just tucked in behind, and I thought, this is going to be awful. This is going to just kill my confidence if I get beaten by a guy with a pram. He was obviously a really, really good runner, and would have been, minutes ahead if he didn't have the pram with him. But I was determined to not get beaten by a guy with a pram. So I tucked in behind, tried to recover from that fast early start. The pace it was not particularly fast, but it felt a little bit uncomfortable at times. So I kind of just tucked in, settled into the rhythm, started to feel good again in around 7Ks, but by this time I looked behind, there was no one there. Looked ahead, the other guys were well up the road. And so we kind of had this pace. It was a little bit slower than what I would have liked going into the race, but just having those thoughts going around in my head of, you've gone off too fast, you're going to blow up later. The whole first 30 minutes was basically that in my mind. And then we got through 10 kilometres, pushed up probably the biggest hill on the course, going up onto the bridge, and I started to feel really, really good. And I thought, okay, I'm going to push on now. This is about halfway into the race. I might as well try and make up a bit of this time and see if I can still sneak a PB. And the pace just came easily, and I was flowing. I was in this really good rhythm. I was getting positive feedback by looking down at my watch and seeing 3:25 a kilometre. I thought, yeah, that's it. I've just got to hold this now to the finish, and I'll get that time. Maybe I can even sneak under 1:14. And then we got to the end of the bridge, turned around, and I realised why I was feeling so good. It's because I had a really big tailwind. This was probably the windiest section of the course, because you're up high on a bridge. And yeah, we hit that headwind when we turned back around, and I looked down and the pace was showing 3:45 a kilometre, which just sapped all of that confidence. I just started to go backwards, and the guy with the pram came back past me again. And Once we got off the bridge though, I started to feel a little bit better and kind of pushed on from there. Got away from the guy with the pram. I should probably stop calling the guy with the pram. His name's Mark. He was a really good guy. I had a chat with him after the race. Got to about 12k and was really trying to push on. Had some headwinds at sections. I think the worst of it was probably, other than the bridge, was going back along the highway. It was a bit of a cross headwind there, and I lost a little bit of time, again, just going up one of the false flats. But then I was really putting my foot down. I think I ran a 324 to 325 kilometres, somewhere in there. And then there's a series of hills in the last 3 kilometres that you have to negotiate, so splits don't look that fast, but in terms of effort, I would say I was running somewhere in like the low 320 kind of effort range, really pushing on. And I was taking a few looks back and I could still see that Mark hadn't dropped that far behind. So he was still, working. He was still running on strong. I think just having the pram into some of those windy sections really started to sap him. I was pushing hard, got up the last hill, giving it everything. I could see that it was going to be tight in terms of breaking 115, so I was pushing almost into a full sprint by the end. And yeah, 114.55. Just those hills and those windy sections, you lose 5 to 10 seconds here and there. Yeah, you don't really get them back. Even the downhills, maybe I was making up 3 or 4 seconds a kilometre on a downhill kilometre, but I was losing 10 to 15 on the ups with the wind at times. So it was still a personal second best. I was 32 seconds outside my PB, but glad to have got a solid performance back on the board. It's always the bit of the bittersweet kind of feeling when you do these hilly races. You know going in that you're not going to run an absolutely blistering time, but when you finish you kind of feel, I don't know, just a little bit disappointed because it's a really hard effort. You got everything out of yourself, but you don't have that kind of reward of a really good time at the end. Other things to note, I wore the Darwin PB Pro and they were really good. Yeah, really light and snappy. There's a few sections just going on downhills. I could feel my feet were, I don't know, I could feel the ground underneath me. We'll just say that. But yeah, they held up fairly well for the half marathon distance. I'm not sure how well they'd go over a full marathon. But yeah, for 5k, 10k and half marathon, I'll probably continue to wear those. Yeah, and it was fun to watch the marathon. But all in all, it was a good, solid performance. Much more fun than running on the track. Even with being solo for the last 9 kilometres, I'm still enjoying it so much more than running on the track. Even the race that went really well on the track where I ran a PB, it was not particularly enjoyable. It was just a torture fest. But anyway, that's another race down. And if you'd like to follow along, please subscribe and I'll see you next time. Hold on. Go, Phil!
Let's go, Phil!
Hold on. Go, Dan.
Let's go. Almost there.
Good, Dan. Get it done.
Fucking hell.